A film just crossed $900 million at the box office. The man it's about has been dead for 17 years, and his estate didn't just benefit from the film. It was designed for exactly this moment. Most people think Michael Jackson's wealth came from music, from albums, from tours. That's true. It's also the smallest part of the story. In 1985, Michael Jackson did something most people have heard of, but almost nobody has actually thought about. He bought a catalogue of music that wasn't his. Not his own songs, other people's songs. Roughly 4,000 of them, including some of the most valuable compositions ever written. He paid $47.5 million. 31 years later, when his estate sold its stake in that same asset, it received $750 million. That is what owning publishing rights means. You are not a musician anymore. You are a landlord. Every time someone uses those songs, the rent comes to you. In 1995, he merged ATV with Sony into a joint venture called Sony/ATV. He gave Sony half. He kept half, and that half kept growing. Sony/ATV eventually became the world's largest music publisher. The catalogue Michael Jackson bought for $47 million was now sitting inside the biggest publishing machine on Earth. Then in 2009, Michael Jackson died. And the machine didn't stop. It accelerated. Here is what the estate inherited: more than $500 million in debt, over 65 creditors, some debt in default, some accruing what court filings described as extremely high interest. Before his death, he was reportedly adding around $30 million of new debt every year. This was not a wealthy man's finances. This was a liquidity crisis in a costume. The will named 2 executors with unusually broad powers. They could sell, mortgage, invest, license, and continue business enterprises. That flexibility was the legal plumbing that made everything else possible. The estate didn't just manage one asset, it managed a stack. 4 distinct layers of value, each generating revenue independently, each reinforcing the others. Layer 1. Recorded music. In 2010, Sony signed a deal worth up to $250 million, guaranteeing 10 releases over 7 years. The estate was immediately monetizing the back catalog at scale. Layer 2. Publishing. Even after selling the Sony/ATV stake, the estate kept Mijak, the company holding Jackson's own compositions. That catalog keeps generating royalties every time his songs are used anywhere. Layer 3. Name, image, and likeness. The estate holds federal trademarks on Michael Jackson's name. Every tribute show, merchandise item, and commercial use requires written authorization. Layer 4. Live entertainment and film. Cirque du Soleil, Broadway. Documentaries, the biopic. MJ, the musical, had grossed roughly $343 million on Broadway by mid-2026. The genius of the right stack is that each layer activates the others. A biopic sends people to streaming. Streaming drives merch. Merch drives Broadway ticket sales. Broadway drives documentary consumption. One event, the whole machine moves. In 2025, Michael Jackson earned an estimated $105 million. He has been dead for 16 years. In 2024, that number hit $600 million. Boosted by a deal where Sony acquired half of the estate's publishing and recorded music assets for at least $600 million, implying a total valuation of over $1.2 billion. Since his death in 2009, the estate has generated an estimated $3.5 billion, from a starting point of $500 million in debt. Then the biopic arrived, and the machine did exactly what it was built to do. Over the biopic's opening weekend, US catalog streams rose 95%, from 16 million to 31 million in a single weekend. 7 Jackson songs appeared on Shazam's global top 200 during that same weekend. Shazam activity around his catalog rose 140%. The film crossed $911 million worldwide, overtaking Bohemian Rhapsody as the highest-grossing music biopic in history. The estate co-produced it. This is not unique to Jackson. After Bohemian Rhapsody, one band's on-demand streams reportedly rose from 588 million to 1.9 billion in 6 months. Biopics are not films. They are catalog marketing campaigns. Now here is the counterintuitive part. In 2019, a controversial documentary aired. Some radio stations pulled his music. Cultural partners went quiet. His on-demand streams went up 41% year over year after the documentary. Scandal is attention. Attention is the raw material of catalog economics. The machine doesn't distinguish. Not everything in the estate story went according to plan. Neverland Ranch was listed at 100 million, then 67, then 31, and finally sold in 2020 for $22 million. Even the estate has its write-downs. To understand the scale, compare it to the other major posthumous artist estates. Elvis earns an estimated 17 million a year. Prince, 11 million. Jackson earns more than both combined and did so in a year with no major transaction. The difference is that Jackson's estate did every legacy tactic simultaneously, not just one. Catalog deals, live entertainment, Broadway, film, trademark enforcement, and carefully timed cultural events. It behaves less like an estate and more like a media company. Which raises an uncomfortable question for living artists. The highest margin part of a superstar might not be the album or the tour. It might be the intellectual property web that keeps generating revenue long after the tour ends. The legal architecture mattered as much as the assets themselves. The will gave executors powers most estates never have. That flexibility let them restructure debt, sign new deals, and keep the crown jewels while the estate remained in probate. What you cannot see publicly is the full terms of the family trust, the 2024 Sony transaction details, the exact revenue breakdown by stream, license, and merch. The estate runs on private information while generating very public numbers. 17 years after his death, estate assets have still not been fully distributed to the trust. The 3 children who are the principal beneficiaries are still waiting for the probate court process to close. Meanwhile, litigation runs in parallel. A lawsuit against HBO civil suits set for trial in 2028. A trademark dispute over tribute shows only settled in March 2026. The machine spends as much time in courtrooms as in concert halls. When you bought a ticket to that film, you were not just watching a biopic. You were participating in a rights activation event 17 years in the making. Every stream, every ticket, every merchandise sale, every Broadway seat moves through the stack, each layer taking its contractual share, the remainder flowing toward 3 children still waiting behind a probate door. The music industry has learned a lesson from this. The highest value part of an artist is not what they perform. It is the invisible architecture built around what they created. Jackson's estate is the case study everyone now copies in some form. Michael Jackson bought other people's songs for $47 million. A $3.5 billion machine grew from that single decision. He didn't just make music, he built infrastructure that outlived him by decades. It's still running now.